Two-headed right, two heads are better than one-headed right. Two heads are better than one-headed right. Two heads are better than one-headed right. Two heads are better than one.
Hey guys, Editing Evelyn here. So I just wanted to pop right in before the video starts and tell you that we accidentally filmed this video in a different format than the one we usually use, which means that there are several clips in here where the footage is of my father, but I'm the one talking. Unfortunately, I didn't have a way to fix that. The camera was focusing on whoever made the most noise, and I kind of talk a little bit quieter than him. I often have to go in manually and raise the volume in my clips, and this time there just wasn't that footage there of me when I was talking. So it might be a little bit disorienting to watch, but we talked about some really cool things in this video, and I'm really excited to be sharing it with you, so enjoy! Hi, welcome back to our channel. My name is Evalyn.
My name is Monty.
And together we are the Two-Headed Writer, a father-daughter writing team originally from Stillwater, Oklahoma, although I'm currently attending the University of Iowa studying English and creative writing.
Every week on a Sunday afternoon, we get together via the internet to catch each other up on our writing endeavors. And we talk about the book that I'm writing, the book that Evalyn is writing, the book that we are writing together, Evalyn's classes, and whatever else comes up. Anything we're stuck on, anything we find interesting, and hopefully these conversations will be of interest to you on your own writing journey.
We'll talk about our book together first. So I've come up with my schedule more solidly. This is the my third week of class was last week. I don't even know anymore, but I'm settling into things. And so there are 3 days a week where I have an hour while you are still teaching that I can get into the file and read. So I read several chapters this week, and you are following through and doing revisions. How are those going?
Well, I have good news, shocking news. You were way ahead of me with going through the chapters, but this morning I caught up.
That is not shocking at all.
It's not. No, I am a bit of a workaholic when it comes to our book. I want to get it done.
And what about your actual writing? Last time you showed off your very complicated plot thing.
A diagram. Yeah, so I haven't done any more on that. No, I haven't looked at it really since last time. I spent my writing time catching up on our book, so.
But what you did do was you signed your contract.
Oh yeah. If you've been watching, then you know I will be getting a short story published in the Brave New Girls anthology, and that has just been a waiting game. They said they accepted it a long time ago, and it doesn't get published for a while. So we're kind of slowly getting through that process. But yesterday, I signed my contract, and today it came back. So I have a signed contract for a publishing deal for a short story. My first one. Yay! What about your New Year's resolution to write 300 words a day? Is that still happening?
I've been bad at keeping track of exactly how many words I've done this week because I'm mostly heavily revising things that I am planning on submitting later this week to 2 different magazines here on campus. So it does become a little bit hard to tell how many words I've actually written, but I am working on projects every day. And the final window for submissions for the last magazine is on the 16th, which is a week from today. It's the day that this video will be coming out. And so by that point, I will have switched back into drafting / outlining mode on my 2 current novels that I'm working on, and then it will be a little easier to keep track of how many words I'm actually writing a day.
I did want to ask you, since you brought it up, about your submissions. So have you submitted anything yet?
So I have not submitted anything since last week. Last week I had already submitted to the Iowa Chapbook Prize. I have not heard back from them yet. And then this week I am submitting to Fools Magazine and Inklit Magazine, which are both on-campus publications run by students here. I am a member of the Fools organization. Like, I paid my dues, I go to their meetings now, and they have both print and online things, so I can keep submitting things to them over the course of the semester, even if I don't make it into the print. I actually pitched a story to them at the meeting on Wednesday. It's a more journalistic thing, so they ask for pitches on things that we think we would need help or collaboration with from them, so they can kind of see what resources they can get us. And I don't want to jinx it by talking about it on the internet yet, but I'm excited about the prospect of working with them. I just haven't heard back from them. I probably will hear back by Wednesday at the next meeting. So
Yeah, I know the story pitch you're talking about, and it would be really cool if it happens. So
it would
fingers
be
crossed for Evalyn.
incredibly cool. But I am planning on submitting 2 pieces to them. Hopefully, if I can get the second one worked up to the standard that I want it to be at. And then I'm also planning on submitting 1 piece to Inklit, and I've joined the reading team for that magazine. So once all of the submissions are in, I'll be helping read them and choosing
Right, but
things that go
you're
in.
reading in a different category than what you're submitting in, right?
Yeah. I'm submitting in fiction and I'm reading in drama.
Is there any kind of writing issue coming up for you that we could discuss? Mechanics of writing kind of stuff.
Not really. So for class, the next thing that I have to write is actually a speech. That's the only like struggle writing wise that I'm having.
So is it because it's pretty personal and you don't know if you want to stand in front of your class and share such personal things?
Well, no, okay, so I'm writing the speech about ways that I use rhetorical strategies to combat my spiraling thoughts that are a part of my anxiety symptom. I've actually already said to the class that I have anxiety. I want to make it humorous and light because it is kind of a weird, dark, kind of not socially acceptable topic for me to be talking about. But at the same time, I don't want to just play it into a joke. One of my examples is that I named my anxiety voice upon the suggestion of a licensed therapist. I didn't just do it on my own because I was describing my spiraling thoughts as an argument between anxious Evalyn and sensible Evalyn. And my therapist suggested that I rename anxious Evalyn so that I would be distancing the unhealthy thoughts from my own brain and sense of self. So I named my anxiety Greg, and that's kind of how I'm introducing the topic, which it's funny. It's like a funny thing. Like I'll say, oh yeah, I named my anxiety. His name is Greg, and people laugh, and I get that. But I don't just want to make Greg into a joke because Greg is really a debilitating thing in my life sometimes.
I have heard of this phenomenon of naming your anxiety before in a podcast that I listened to called The Hilarious World of Depression. And if you want to know something about how to balance humor with seriousness when talking about these mental health issues, that's a good podcast. So,
I've been getting back into listening to podcasts
all right.
recently. Started with Night Vale because I have to catch up. Well, I don't actually have to catch up, but I feel as if I should catch up before I go to the show. And then the voice of one of the characters on Night Vale has a podcast through Night Vale Presents. His name is Dylan Marin, and he does this podcast called Conversations with People Who Hate Me. And he started out because he does stuff on YouTube, and a lot of it is political. He's very left leaning, and he has a series of unboxing videos where he explains concepts like white privilege or police brutality, but does it in a kind of funny way where he's like unboxing it like one would do, like I do with my owl crates.
Mm-hmm.
And so he gets lots of hateful comments. And he started contacting those people and then calling them on the phone, and he turned that into a podcast of just their discussions that they had. And then in the second season, he started also facilitating conversations between other people, like two separate people, not him. Like one of them said something to the other one online, right? And that's really interesting. I feel like
I want to hear that podcast. So we'd like to hear what you think. Are there any great writing podcasts out there that you recommend we should be listening to? Comment below. This could get pretty meta for you, because like, what is Greg going to think about you giving a speech about Greg?
Well, since I named Greg, I've gotten better at ignoring Greg's small protests toward things. When it was Anxious Evelyn, I'd be like, shut up, Anxious Evelyn, and then I was just being mean to myself, and that made me feel bad. Now that it's Greg, I can just be like, shut up, Greg, and it feels like I'm shutting down some jerk instead of myself. I don't typically get nervous about speaking in front of groups of people, so there's not really a lot of anxiety centered around the speech itself. So it's just the topic, and I don't know.
Do you have anxiety about anxiety?
If I've gotten really bad, I will start to have anxiety about my anxiety, but
Yeah.
like, I'm like handling myself pretty well right now. I mean, like last night, I almost freaked out because of the weirdness last night.
Yeah.
I don't want to go into on here, but I didn't. A lot of the big anxiety triggers for Greg are things where I've had a negative experience with the subject in the past. And so they're like valid fears, but Greg just blows them out of proportion.
Hmm.
So like my fear of heights leads to Greg's like, no way we're stepping foot on the Eiffel Tower, that thing's gonna fall over. But I don't have concerns about public speaking, so there's not a lot for Greg to latch onto.
No, this would be great for middle grade, because in the middle grade was when you struggled with this or started struggling with it.
Yeah.
And you didn't have this tool yet. And your mom and I didn't know about it to tell you, well, just name your anxiety something. But if you had a story that a kid could read and say, oh, I could do the same, it could help them a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's the whole thing about like own voices. That's the reason that it's so important.
What does it take to write something very personal? Because I know that really good writing gets at some truth, and to get at some truth, you have to talk about what you know, and to talk about what you know, you have to talk about yourself, and to talk about something important, you have to dig deep. And it's hard, it's scary to share personal things with the world. I don't know, it's something that I've never been super able to do, but you are. I think your generation is better at it because of social media.
Yeah, there's definitely a social media aspect. I film my own life all the time and post it on the internet willingly, like outside of this even. A lot of it stems from the fact that when I was first dealing with the issues that I write about, whether it be Greg or my sexuality or the jaw surgery thing, which is also kind of tied back to Greg, but its own separate large issue, I felt very alone in those things. And some of those things I've been able to find other people who've experienced them in my own life, like I did with the jaw surgery, or books that talk about the things like with my anxiety and my sexuality, like, and those are comforting, but at the same time, there's also a comfort in sharing your own truth about the situations. And the more those things are out there and the more honesty is out in the world, the more likely it is that the next person isn't going to feel as alone. And so it's just important to me to, since I seem to have the ability to easily share details about my life, like I have friends my age who struggle with that, but I'm kind of an open person. Like if you get me talking, I'll just talk to you. It's getting to that point.
Yeah.
That's hard for me. But
Your
once
mom's like that. It's like she'll talk about whatever's going on. If she's comfortable with
Mhm.
people around her, she'll just put
Yeah.
it all out there.
So like I feel like since I have these experiences and I have gone through the process of growing and accepting things about myself and working through issues that I've had, that, and I mean part of it also too is the kind of stories that I want to write are for kids and teens and people who spend a lot of time feeling confused and alone, and I would rather write a story that is going to help them feel less weird and more accepted and more seen, and that's entertaining, than one that's just super entertaining and does amazingly well, right? Like I'd rather write something meaningful than commercial.
Mm-hmm.
And I also want to write commercial things. I think that things can be both.
Right.
Why I'm writing fantasy with LGBT characters in it, etc.
Right.
But it's just important to me because the stories that I found, like, I don't know, like, how I would have functioned without them.
Well, maybe I need to take a lesson from this. I need to, first of all, name the anxiety that's telling me I can't write about this or that, and then tell it to shut up.
Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video and you'd like to keep following us on our writing journey, remember to click that subscribe button and ring the bell icon to be notified whenever I upload a new video. Remember to comment down below and recommend us a podcast specifically about writing, but honestly, I'd take any interesting podcast recommendation because learning about new things is one of the best ways to help yourself stay creative. We will be back next week with another video, but until then, remember,
Two
two
heads
heads
are
are
better
better
than
than
one.
one.